Well, I am happy.
I'm currently 21 years old. I was 15 when I watched First Reformed. It was one of the first films I saw in that artsy A24 style. It was a type of dramatic film I hadn't really seen before, and I was mostly excited by just how much I felt the tone of the movie. And I couldn't get enough of that cinematography, you know, that 4:3 aspect ratio. When you're first getting into cinema, beyond stuff you grew up with in mainstream blockbusters, movies like this will have a strong effect on you, just on the strength and the difference in their form and their filmmaking and writing. Time passed and I kept watching movies, different movies, weirder movies, new movies, and First Reformed kind of faded from my memory. Never forgotten, just not one I recalled all that often. It's 2025 now, and things are different. Okay, don't worry, I'm not going to be up on the soapbox like reaching the grand old age of 21 has granted me some like great wisdom or anything, but I am going to ramble about this movie for a little bit. When you make it a point to watch or read as much as you can, you'll collect that library in your brain. Everything may not be instantly accessible on command, but it's back there, ready to be recalled for any number of reasons for you to have that, oh yeah, I remember that moment. And it's those little pings of memory that called me back to First Reformed. I don't have much of anything in common with Reverend Ernst Tuller. I am not a religious man, I did not lose my son in war, and I am younger than half his age. In fact, this particular perspective is very specific, and I don't see many people relating exactly. And more so than that, the narrative approach taken here, the depressive, isolated emotional state of the character, the religious theming, and the fact that much of the character development and thematic exploration is done through Tuller narrating his diary entries. It puts the film into a stereotypically intellectual type of storytelling. Could a film be any more pretentious than letting its character wax philosophy and faith-based troubles to the audience in plainly stated voiceover? So where is the soul here? I'm gonna say some things. Post-production Damien here. So funny thing happened in this little bit right here. I say I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and that you should subscribe if you're enjoying the video. Well, actually ended up hitting 1,000 subscribers not long after I filmed this video. Don't feel threatened that I filmed this like that Joker scene in The Dark Knight where he has the video camera. So subscribe. I guess the goal is 2,000 subscribers. So yeah, back to the video. Thank you.
I've decided to keep a journal, writing every word out so that every inflection of penmanship, every word chosen, scratched out, revised, is recorded.
Journaling is a simple resort. It can feel like a chore or a necessity depending on the day.
To set down all my thoughts and the simple events of my day factually and without hiding anything.
Writing honestly for yourself and yourself only, where you are simultaneously the smartest person and the most useless person. It's a great place to be. Now, more than ever, it's essential to affirm the individuality of your thoughts and where you are in the world without the broader input of a billion other voices that are not your own. But isolation will inevitably begin to devour you. Tuller humbly maintains a historical church, living on the grounds, preaching Sunday services to a small congregation, and providing the occasional tours. There's this scene where Tuller is guiding a tour for some kids and shows the children a hidden basement where slaves are hidden from hunters as part of the Underground Railroad. A tangible reminder under their feet of the church upholding its commitment to humanity and the greater good, to helping right and justice and aiding in a desperate situation.
The bad times, they will begin, and from that point, everything moves very quickly.
Tuller is asked by a woman to meet with her depressed husband, a climate activist named Michael who is spiraling, desperately afraid of bringing a child into this world when the writing is on the wall for where the planet is heading. Tuller is sympathetic and says what you would expect a reverend to say. Despair is a part of the human experience. Life is valuable. Love is valuable. The world may be in trouble, but we shouldn't forsake life for it.
Right, and if humankind can't overcome its immediate interest enough to ensure its own survival, then you're right. The only rational response is despair.
It's a thud of a realization. The best advice he was equipped to give. Advice that wasn't necessarily untrue. It simply wasn't enough in the face of how this man saw the world. The argument of perseverance was not convincing when held to the world humanity has created. Helping the man's widow clear his things out, Tuller comes into possession of his laptop. It's filled with information and images of environmental destruction. This comprehensive collection cataloging worldly decay and human greed. It doesn't rally Tuller to put his own problems into perspective or bring him resolve in any way. It just sends him down the rabbit hole of despair even further, bringing him to exactly where Michael was.
Today I stopped. I had miso and fish. Such simple pleasures. Why do we deny ourselves?
In the face of everything, there are so many enjoyable little things we are reminded of. And you just look behind you and there are those, a relatively microscopic amount of people who endlessly indulge, loudly taking things for granted, bankrolled at the expense of everything that there is. Tuller quickly finds how defensive and oppositional people become the instant he expunges any kind of rhetoric that asks to be even slightly conscious of the state of things. The megachurch that funds his church is throwing a big reconsecration event for the 250th anniversary of First Reformed. A man named Edward Bonk is one of the biggest donors to the megachurch. He's the CEO for one of the top energy companies in the world, one of the largest polluters in the world. And the ethical rot just eats at Tuller. Should it not be common sense that an organized religion should protect and advocate for the creation of the God they worship, regardless of material and social circumstance?
The U.S. Congress still denies climate change? Where were we when these people were elected? We know who spoke for big business. Who spoke for God?
Tuller makes his plea and is told he doesn't live in the real world. The operations, the staffing of the megachurch, of frankly any broadly organized system is dependent on funding and income. So therefore, any sin that accompanies that is the real world. It's funny to think about how organized religion is so quick to discard a portion of their sacred commitment to a higher power because of earthly systems. How governments sacrifice the well-being of their people or the sustainability of their lands because they have to adhere to the machinery of capital. The functions of our most essential systems are so overtly cannibalistic. It is plain to say that the destruction our systems cause, or those we align ourselves with to function within those systems, to say that is just how the world works, so therefore is free of responsibility, that the participants involved should inherently be absolved of sin, is effectively the most dead-end logical fallacy. For the average person, it is forgetting that we ourselves created these systems. And in a religious sense, it's to say our own systems of finance and government are as permanently fixed or intrinsic as the will of God itself. Depending on who you are, it's naive at best and blasphemous at worst. A detail that comes up is that Tuller's son joined the army as part of family tradition. Tuller encouraged this despite his wife's protest. His son does and ends up being deployed in Iraq, where he's killed.
I talked my son into a war that had no moral justification.
It's just another facet of corruption and senselessness that has been baked into the pillars of our society.
No, I have not lost my faith.
The whole question of the film ultimately is, can God forgive us? This is a universal question simply phrased through a religious vocabulary. Can humanity truly say that we treated our only world well? Can we say we didn't damn our children and our children's children? If put to trial, could we say that we stood upright and worked to universally righteous ends? The simple answer is no. I'm a realist as much as an optimist, and cynicism is ultimately a dead end for anyone. But I love this movie so much for being just such a vivid articulation of despair. The film ultimately taps into and captures that buried collective worry, the understanding that something is going drastically wrong, and whether or not it is said or left unsaid seemingly makes no difference in the outcome. Now to the question of the inevitable downfall of our world and the ethical question of bringing children into it, I don't buy into the pessimistic idea that it's wrong, simply because the only way things will get even marginally better is if there is good people there to make it so. Giving new life the proper care and guidance to create better life for its own generation and the next generations after it is essentially the story of humanity. First Reformed is only one side of the coin of humanity's path, and it's a thorough illustration of it. It's one of the most uniquely modern movies ever made. I'd be interested to think on what would be the opposite opposite of this movie. If First Reformed is, nothing but dread and despair for the most part, what movie would be the hope and excitement of the future? I don't know, but thanks for watching. This video was very much something I threw together quickly, but I had fun making it. It gave me an excuse to rewatch a movie I'd been thinking about a lot lately. And drop a like, drop a subscribe. I do videos like this regularly, twice a month. So subscribe, follow me on Instagram. I do photography over there. Follow me on Letterboxd. I post everything I watch over there. And drop a comment. What do you think about First Reformed? Do you think it's overly pessimistic, or do you think it's, pretty right on the money? Good stuff, man. We're all gonna die.